How you guys doing? This is Joseph Watkins of Region 99 interviewing the one and only Chuck Collins, the creator of Bounce Comic, volumes 1, 2, and just recently released 3. How you doing, Chuck?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? All right, chilling.
I'm good. I'm good. You're good. Everyone's good.
Yeah. I mean, trying to deal with the 2020.
I
You
hear you,
know,
bro. I hear you.
a few
All right.
weeks left.
I love you too, honey. All right, Daddy's in the meeting.
Yeah.
So, look, I know 2020 has been a hard year for creators and creatives, and I'm just, how you been, bro? How's everything?
Dude, like I said, it's been a very hard year creatively. Trying to put all your focus into just doing what you love. I mean, you know, us artists, we tend to, even if we're working on a passion project,
Hmm.
it's energy, it's focus. You want to do the best work you possibly know how to do, and that takes a lot
Yeah,
on a normal year,
amen to
not
that.
even in a pandemic.
Word.
So to do that in the middle of every morning, you wake up and it's like, what just happened? All right, wait, you got murder hornets. Wait, okay, I'm gonna go sleep this off. You wake up the next morning. Wait, we
So,
got Godzilla on the
worse than
shore.
before.
Like, what? What is happening?
Word, yo.
So it just becomes one of those things where you're in this constant state. At least for me, I'm not talking about. I know people who have been extremely creative during this time, and I'm like, God bless you. But for me, it's just been like one big ball of anxiety.
Really?
Just like every day, it's like and like I said, over the past few months, things have let up a little bit, and some of that anxiety kind of turned to anger when you look at the political climate.
Yeah.
And being I make bounce is like more of a comedy slash social commentary type thing where I could take real world events and make fun of them. But it felt like every time I made a joke, real life beat me to the punch. I'm like, not my story's whack. Let me just throw it away.
Oh, wow. I got you.
It's
I got you.
crazy.
Um, the bouncer and Yemaya.
Mhm.
It seems like two people who love each other to the day they die. What was your inspiration behind that?
Oh, I know a lot of people because I loosely base a lot of the characters on people that I know in my regular life.
Hmm.
Yemaya is like she's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of people.
Okay.
And it's mostly many Black women that I hold a dear and true loving friendship with. So
Okay.
it's like these are people in my life that I find to be inspirational, people that I find to be like family, people that I can go to whatever problems I have and talk to them about and not feel like I'm being judged or whatever. So it basically becomes she was like the amalgamation of all those women in my life, and I decided to say I'm making a character out of that.
Got you. Got
The
you.
funny thing is, I made her, and it, it's kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with the Buffy universe, right?
Um,
Okay, so remember when
slightly.
Spike
I'm
was
slightly.
made?
I'm slightly,
Oh,
slightly familiar
okay,
with it.
but you know Spike. You got to
Yeah.
know Spike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when the creators when they made Spike, he was supposed to only last a few episodes, but he became such a fan favorite that they just kept him on.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened with Yemaya. I was gonna make her like this character that came through and then left after a little while. And then maybe she would pop in every once in a blue. But like so many people loved her that I was like, she needs to be in this comics in almost every strip.
Word.
Like,
When she beat, I forget the big dude's name was on the roids. When she
Dexter. Yeah,
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 when
yeah,
she beat Dexter's ass, I was like, okay,
yeah.
like I would date her though. Like I
Yes.
would date her. I would be like, yo, you want to go out? And then when I found out her boyfriend was like this nerdy dude, I was like, oh, I might have a shot. Like, he kind of gave me a little hope.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Well, that's the thing. I wanted Yemaya to be like you know, I didn't want her to be a conventional, uh, you know, like comic character where you see her and she looks all trim and fit and everything. I wanted her to look like my friends, like real life people. You know,
Yeah.
obviously I gave her a little bit of the,
The
you
arm
know,
strength.
yeah, but you know, like I actually know women and friends that fight in MMA that are built like that. You know what
Really?
I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like it's not far fetched to believe in that.
I got you.
And you know, it was one of those things. So I was like, definitely, you know, I'm gonna make this character very unique in that fashion, you know,
Got you.
and she's not like just your conventional, like, you know, hey, there's nothing wrong with those other characters, you know, who go to the gym every day and look
Of
like,
course.
you know, super diesel or fit or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, but I just wanted something a little bit different. I wanted something that everybody can see, like these are real people.
Of
And
course.
Yemaya got her muscles not from working out, but just fighting people at the bar.
Word. Like I've never like I know this is gonna sound crazy. I've been to bars, bar hopped. I don't think I've ever seen a female bouncer before.
They exist.
And now
They're
I'm
there.
scared because if she took that job as a female bouncer, best believe she gonna hit you with the 1-2.
Oh man, yo, dude. I'll tell you this.
Mhm.
One of the stories that didn't bounce was where I don't know if it's in volume 2, but
Yeah.
there was a character that came in
Mhm.
and Yemaya said to she was messing with the bouncer and Yemaya said, you know what, he won't hit you, but I will.
Okay.
And it was actually based on a real story. I used to have a friend of mine, her name is Joanna, but we used to call her Joey for short.
Okay.
And there was one night I'd kick out these two white girls going crazy, and I kind of like, you know, not I wasn't being physical with them. It was kind of like, all right, y'all gotta go. Okay, yeah, I'm this, and they hit me. They doing. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And I I finally get them outside.
Mhm.
I'm trying to just stand by the door and just say, y'all can't come back in. And one of the girls was getting all like crazy and she started slapping me in the face. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, this is some craziness. Now, my friend Joey worked up the block and she just got off of work and she was walking up
Uh-huh.
and she ran up behind the homegirl and yoked her, like in a chokehold. And then they said, you gonna stop that? And she was like, you get off me. Who the hell are you? He says, this is my boy. All right. He won't fuck you up, but I will. And then
Wow.
tossed it to the ground. And then they went about their business. And then I was like, Joey, I'm buying you a drink right now.
That's
Like,
what's
let's
up.
go inside. Like,
That's
let's
what's
do
up.
it.
That's
But
what's up.
yeah, sometimes and you know, I've seen a lot of female bouncers do their thing and just rock it out. Like
Bro.
they exist.
I'm I want to meet one. Hopefully if I interview you again, I want to meet one. Now, the Dragon Black,
Mhm.
aka the bouncer.
Yes.
I feel like this is I feel like this is your confessions on printed paper in digital form. I feel like I'm not gonna lie, as I was drinking and reading this, I was like,
Mhm.
yo, I feel like these are real life situations that have happened, but not only happened, you lived. I feel like you was right every night you went home. You was like, I gotta write about this story, and you just recorded, and then you have so many binders of information. You was like, I gotta do this. I gotta draw this.
That's actually
Like,
that's what
if you could,
happened.
if you could explain, all right. So if you could explain a little bit more about Dragon Black, aka the bouncer, aka the number one bouncer in America.
Oh
If
God, no, I don't know about all
I'm just
that.
saying, like, if saying like, I would love to have met you bouncing and just to see this in action for the Instagram faves. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, it's funny because like I think I haven't worked the door in about 4 years. I retired 4 years ago. I was like, I'm not doing this no more.
Okay.
Um, and that's after doing it for like almost 18 years. And I'm like, it was. I will tell you the day I came up with Bounce. And hopefully this explains the whole thing. There was one day where I'm sitting in front of the bar.
Okay.
You know, just it's a dead night, ain't nothing going on. Everybody's, you know, there's a few people inside. So I'm just there fiddling on my phone. And there's this local heroin addict that you know, travels around there.
Got you.
He's harmless. We don't, you know, his name was Danny. Danny would come through, talk shit. When he was sober, he was fine. When he'd get high, he was all crazy. And long story short, he was completely high. He did some crazy antics at the door. Well, I was like, yo, Danny, you gotta go, man. You gotta get the hell out of here. Like, I can't work while you standing here talking all. You know the owner don't want you here when the
You're in
bar is
that
open.
moment.
Yeah, so he was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And the exchange was so funny that I went to the back and just started writing it down on my phone, you know, because we usually used to like switch because there was 2 bouncers that worked at night, and there
Okay.
was one in the front and one in the back because we used to have a pool room in the back. It was a big bar.
Okay.
And so it was my turn to be in the back to go watch it. And, you know, I was just on my phone. I started writing down. But then I started writing down every scenario that I started being in, like literally like 1-word sentences.
Oh, wow.
And that's basically, I think I wrote like maybe about 150 of them that night. Like I just sat down and then just did it. And it was like off and on, like, because, you know, I had to work. So it was off and on. And then I finally just came up with everything. And then the major challenge was now actually designing the character. Like, my older artwork before doing Bounce was very more comic book like. It was very more like, you know, weird mix between anime, manga, DC, Marvel type stuff. But for Bounce, I wanted to approach it from a different level. I wanted to do it like more cartoony, more comedic. And so I started doing all these different sketches of characters. And I said, nah, I don't want the character to look like me. I don't want to do anything. And then I just did one. I was like, all right, let me make a cartoony version of myself. And I did it. And I was like, you know what? That works. And I just did the first, I sat down for about a day and a half because I didn't have work for those 2 days. I sat down for about a day and a half, hashed out like 3 comic strips.
Bro.
And then the rest is history. I'm just started doing it. That was like about 6 years ago. Just started doing it.
And I'm like, hold on, I got a drink. I got to sip to that. Because, yo, real talk, yo, cheers for the stories, because
thank you, man.
The real life situations you experience. And I'm looking at you like, I'm like, yo, if I can relate. I know this is gonna sound corny, but I remember one time I was a bouncer for one day, and I think I met Tyrion that day too. I think he was running the club at the time. I don't know. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was another dwarf-like individual.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine was like, "Yo, we need like 10 to 15 bouncers for the club." So I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be a bouncer. Like, it was the experience. And I'm sitting there like dressed up in all black, you know, big bodied and everything. And I'm sitting there in some club in up like a little like New Jersey somewhere.
Yeah.
And we were wall to wall looking like Secret Service. And, you know, Tyrion, I guess the guy is Tyrion, I don't know, but he was a dwarf like individual. And he tapped my shoulder. He like, you good? I'm like, yo, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm scared to death. And I'm sitting there like, yo, if something pop off, I gotta escort my man out. And I'm sitting there like, so, like, what was it like being a bouncer and the heart rate that came with it? Because I'm like, you were like the closest thing to Secret Service of drinking establishments. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's the best way to put it.
I guess so. I never thought about it like that. But yeah,
like,
you're right.
Like, you're the Secret Service establishment. Like, if you were like Roadhouse every day, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting there like, this one moment in time, I guess the reason why I'm reading the comic and I'm loving it is because I'm like, yo, I felt like I was thinking all these things, but you put it in print form. Like, what was it like for years being a bouncer in New York City at night?
Yeah.
you saw, like, if you can't just describe it, I guess a little bit,
No,
because
I could tell you to it. Look, everything was trial and error. I trust me, I made a lot of mistakes when I first started bouncing.
really,
Man, look, I used to, my first thing was, all right, we're about to pop off. I can't be a punk. Let's just go. But then I realized that necessarily wasn't my style. Now, every bouncer you meet will have their own way of doing things. There's usually general rules that
okay,
everybody will go by, but usually certain bouncers have different ways of doing things. And I've worked with dudes who I, in my days when I was finally got the game down, I was like, "You that dude, you the man." But at that, how to do the mental gymnastics, how to do the Zen type, nature of things. And I knew dudes who came to work looking to get into some shit. Like, we
like
here to fight tonight. Like, we here to do this. And I didn't necessarily like working with those dudes because it never leads to a good place. A lot of those guys live for that kind of shit, and I don't. So,
okay,
I want to make it home.
of
So,
course, of course,
but there's always that aspect of self-preservation. Now, when I got later into the game, I started learning how to navigate through the mental, And the one thing that I will tell you is you get to know people on a very intimate level when they think about you in a certain way. They think that, oh, he's just a big security guy. And then they start to get drunk. They start to say certain things, and you're just sitting there like, huh. Now, I've dealt with people from all different walks of life. Like,
mhm,
I've dealt with the most hoodest drug dealer to the most accomplished hedge fund manager that you'll ever meet. I've dealt with the craziest of the craziest drug addicts, and some of the best celebrities that you would never know. You'd be like, that was actually a cool dude. I thought he was an asshole. So like,
nice,
you deal with it on a whole level, but the best thing to always do is just be yourself throughout every situation.
amen.
So that's where it was. And a lot of those conversations, especially in the comic strip in doing bounce, came from that kind of like it came from that exchange with people.
I noticed that,
Yeah.
like, the one cell the one cell strips that you made,
Hmm.
it felt like you were always, as the character, Dragonblack,
Hmm.
he was always trying to give peace to the people he was talking to. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, he had to whoop some ass in that one strip, but he explained why he had to do it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And when I noticed that, I was like, he's not like, he's a bouncer by job description, but he gives you his soul as a character.
Right.
And by giving this, giving this, hey, you got your ass beat, but here's a little piece of wisdom.
Hmm.
You were like a parent to
Right.
some,
Yeah.
a big brother to others,
Yeah.
and a protector for those who needed to be protected.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was one of the things that gravitated me towards the comic series, was because, like, you're like the sage of bouncers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you not only took the job of being a bouncer seriously, but you put a twist on it that will be legendary. You know,
Well,
and
yeah, you know what? I appreciate that. I tend not to think too much about it. I just tend to be like, here's a story. It's funny. Read it, like, and just go about my business. But I mean, there is an aspect of, you know, there were a lot of instances where you would just feel stuff that you had to be. You look into some, and this is a big difference because you look into somebody's eyes and you see them at that bare moment, where all of their inhibitions have been taken away, because they could have either have been drinking all night, snorting coke, doing all whatever the hell they were doing before they came to the bar. And you get to see them bare. And you get to see that moment of vulnerability, and you're like, it's not that you're really just an asshole. It's just that you don't know any better.
And
I
the
don't think,
liquor
yeah, and I
kind
don't,
of enhances those a bit. It's
yeah,
it's like you have to fight Cell in different forms every single night.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I guess that's the best way to put it. Like,
yeah, yeah.
all right, it's this form tonight. Okay, this guy, this guy, this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, like, all right, if you could, your art, the artistic ability,
Mm-hmm.
if you could just tell a little bit of, if you have, the background story of
Mm-hmm.
Bounce, because you are more than a bouncer, but more importantly, like you're, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
you're an artist. I feel like, all right, in my person, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I've been drinking a little bit too much.
It's okay,
Look,
man.
I've
Don't
been
worry
drink.
about it.
I call this demon's blood. It's called
What is
Exodus.
that?
It's Exodus.
It's red wine?
It's red wine in bourbon barrels, 15.5%. This right
Oh,
here, if like I'm not promoting them, but if you get a chance, and the way it looks like a flask from Lord of the Rings.
I'm saying just the logo design, like everything, like
Exactly.
it's just
It's clean and
wow.
beautiful. And I feel like this is what the world needs right now for COVID-19. This
Yes,
is what the world
exactly.
needs.
I'm just sitting here drinking cheap ass bourbon. Like that's all I'm drinking.
Hey,
Nothing
I'm
special,
with you. I'm with you.
But
It's I know like I, I I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too involved in it, but this right here is really great and it's amazing. And the background for your artistic ability, if you could just tell the world about it. Like,
man. So I've drawn all my life. So
okay.
it's basically, it's not like I picked up a pencil as soon as I started
No,
drawing
no. Like,
bounce.
was
Like,
there art school and stuff like that, or
there
was it
was
just
there
like,
was a little bit of art school, not that much.
okay,
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. The one thing that I did was I interned. My goal way back, because you can tell by the gray hairs, I'm old. But
you can tell by the gray hair too. Same.
yeah, so you already know. Like I back in the '90s, my dream was to put out my independent comic. Maybe I'll go to Image or something like that or whatever,
Mhm.
or maybe put it out on my own. Of course, back in the '90s, these resources like Kickstarter and all that shit didn't exist.
Of course.
So like it was really hard for me to just be like a nobody guy drawing these characters, and I made a whole bunch of other characters before, and I was very heavily influenced by anime, manga. You live in New York. There was a culture back in the 90s that was like straight up anime and manga. Like you knew the places to go and get all the good stuff. And we're
Especially
talking,
the VHS tapes.
yes,
VHS tapes.
yes.
Heavy.
There was one spot down in Chinatown called Octopus Kingdom. And
Okay.
I used to run with a lot of cats back in the day. You had obviously, Kyrie Randolph,
Hmm.
LaShawn Thomas. Like
Yes.
I'd see all these same cats. We all used to go to the same store and became cool and like used to run around New York trying to find more anime and manga. And then we'd find Japanese bookstores that were out here that would sell art books. So
Yeah.
now wait, I could find an art book based on my favorite anime. Like that's crazy. And this is before there was even a thing called Funimation,
Yes.
Crunchy. Like that didn't exist yet. That
No.
was even in the thing.
No.
You
I think if anything, Funimation dropped like it was that one thing that came on at like 6 o'clock in the morning on like channel 11.
Yeah. That was way after. I remember
Oh,
when that was happening, I was like, oh, I've seen all this shit already, man.
Sci-Fi Network. It was the Sci-Fi
Yeah,
Network.
sci-fi,
Sci-Fi
Saturday morning
Network.
anime. Yeah,
Word.
it's like we saw all these animes that you saw in that thing. We saw years before.
Yo,
like Demon City and all those.
remember that? And
Yeah, yeah.
Kashawn Robot Hunter
Oh
that came on.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, that
Yo,
was my joint.
yo, what?
I used to
To this
love
day,
Krishan.
I'm
Yeah,
still trying to look for that. If I could find that to add it to my collection, I got a
I'll
Crying
send you a
Freeman
link.
disc set.
I'll send you a link. There's
Oh, thank you, thank you.
you can find ways. This is the
Okay,
internet.
I got, of course, of course. Like, bro, like,
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you know, what's funny is a lot of the anime I used to try to get and used to like scour through Chinatown, try to find them.
same.
Like all that we grew up in Brooklyn. So all of the boys that used to be in the anime, it was a whole group of us, a whole bunch of hood dudes,
Mm-hmm.
hood teenagers, like, yo, we need to find that. So we all take the 2 train to Chinatown. We'd walk around till we found what we wanted, and it was so hard to find.
Because you
Now
would
I go
have to
on
hold up.
YouTube.
You would have to walk down this flight of steps, open
Yeah,
up a door, and it would be there that 1 month.
that's
And
literally
next
what
thing,
it was. Yeah,
yo, bro,
I'm not kidding.
no, I believe you because I did it
Yeah.
too. Like all jokes, yo, fam, yo, fam. Like all jokes aside, yo, Chinatown was the plug.
Yes,
Chinatown was the
bruh.
plug for it, and I was sitting there like, yo, one time, my mans and I, we went to this mini mall in Chinatown, and it
Yeah,
was like this small enclosure, and
yeah.
he had nothing but DVDs and paraphernalia and everything out and everything.
Wait, is it you went to Chinatown here in New York?
Yeah, Chinatown.
Okay, so you probably talking about Penguin Village.
That's probably it. It was weird
Yeah.
because all I know is I went in there, bought me like a Naruto box set on bootleg
Yeah.
DVD. I don't know how he got it, but he had it. And then I went a month later, he was gone, and they said, "Yo, he just put everything out on the floor and just got rid of it." And I was
Yep.
like, "Wait, what?" And it was gone. It was like these mythical spots to get your anime. It was
Yeah, bro.
like
Yo, it was like the side mission that you found, and you found the cat that was in a pillar of light, and he's like, "Yo, I
exactly.
can tell you where it's at.
It's
Get
bruh.
me this, get me this tuna. Bring it back here, and I got."
But and you know what? But what makes it so cool? You know, what I'm saying like I know this is a side note and everything, but what makes
Yeah,
it cool was that those were the adventures that I loved when it came to
yeah.
collecting
Me too.
anime
Me
because
too.
that
Yeah,
was when you knew you was loyal to the craft because
yeah, yeah.
the amount like I live in Jersey, like I was born in Brooklyn, Kings
Mhm.
County, and I used to live
Oh,
on
so
Washington Avenue.
yeah, East Flatbush. That's where I grew
Exact,
up.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And then we came over to my mom's, and then we
Mhm.
came over to Jersey, been to Jersey Bay ever since. But to catch the PATH train, and then catch the trains to get to Chinatown,
Mhm.
and I was looking for the anime plug,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, while Viz and Funimation, everybody is out and running everything. It was just like, yo, man, the adventure, like Adventures in Chinatown for a
Yeah,
black
bro.
dude, it was like the coolest thing on the planet.
And listen, it didn't just end with anime, man. It went on to comics,
Word.
manga, like all those old, like those Chinese comics, like Wind and Cloud,
Hmm.
Storm Riders,
Yeah,
all those old school joints like Cyber Weapon Z and all these other joints, and then video games. Getting your PlayStation modded so you could play Japanese video games. That was,
exactly. Like
dude,
remember, hold
yeah,
up, remember when the Dragon Ball Z first came out,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
had to mod your original PlayStation?
Yup,
Oh my
yup.
God! To this day, I was like, I was scared. Like I ain't gonna lie, I was scared because I saved up my money. I bought. Hold up, this is how old I am. I bought my PlayStation at Sears.
Oh wow. Damn.
I bought my PlayStation. I said I was working at Sears, and like someone like returned it, and I was like, "Yo, let me get my discount. Here's my
Yeah.
paycheck. Boom, boom, boom."
Yeah.
And when I got my PlayStation, it was just like that's when I knew I was becoming a man. I guess my rite of
Yeah. Yeah.
passage, because
Your
like
rite of passage was buying your first console.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? And 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 then there was a spot in Bloomfield where they just sold nothing but imported games. And I saw Dragon Ball
Right.
Z, and I was in it. I wasn't too in it, but I was in it, and I realized that this anime was something that was on a blow up,
Hmm.
and it was crazy. And I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I used to work at a store called Suncoast Video Store.
I remember Suncoast. Yeah, we used
So
to go there all the time.
when so that's when they started pumping out the Dragon Ball Z tapes. Like I don't even know if I still got them.
Yeah.
But then when the Namek saga dropped,
Oh yeah.
you couldn't
Bro.
tell.
Yeah. Exactly.
I
Trust
started
me. I saw.
crying. Like
Yeah.
I started crying because I was sitting there like, yo, this is life, bro.
Yo, this
Like
is,
anime is life.
and I made I'll straight up tell you, I'm 44 years old.
I'm 40.
So okay, so you're 40. So I got four. So basically, you were a freshman and I was a senior in
Okay.
high school. So there were times I remember my first experience with Dragon Ball was at that same place, Octopus Kingdom. They
Uh,
used to sell the VHS tapes with 5 episodes that they would record from Japanese TV, right?
exactly.
And what they would do is it was no translation. And niggas used I'm Bart, sorry, but
No, it's good. You're good. You're good.
we used to sit down and try to make up the story in our head. Like, yo, I don't know who this dude is that likes to eat a lot with the orange suit. That's the man right there.
Got you.
And then I remember the first thing that I ever saw was the Frieza saga when Goku was getting the mess beat out of him. And I was like, yo, he gonna die. He's gonna die. Like there's no good ending for this. And I got mad at my boys, like, why you gonna show me a show where the main character's gonna die? Like he's
Uh,
getting his ass beat everywhere. Like it doesn't make any sense.
got you.
So, but then you wait till the whole thing is done and you see it and you're like, yo, your man just
Freaked it.
just did it. So
Freaked
I
it.
remember like getting the games and getting stuff and I'll tell you, like I was big into Street Fighter, SNK, all those joints, and we used to my boy who lived next door to me, my boy Leon, who's my best friend to this day, used to live
Amen.
next door to me. He used to have the Neo Geo cartridge console, those cartridges that look like the Bible,
Yeah.
and he used to have that whole thing. And so I remember when he first bought King of Fighters '94 when it first dropped in 1994.
Okay.
And bro, I think I spent the night at his crib. We were trying to beat Wolfgang, what's his name again? No, not Klauser. I'm sorry. Rugal,
Okay.
the last boss in King of Fighters '94, because it's an arcade console, so it's like all the arcade hardness is in there. Like you can't. He parries every single move you do. You can't do nothing. You're just like
The
trying your
ultimate hardest
best.
boss.
You continue it like 20 times. It was just it was hilarious. But um to go back to what you were saying, like a lot of that stuff was my inspiration. That's where a lot of the stuff comes from. Like even in the first volume of Bounce, there was a dude who
Yes.
comes into the bar.
Just letting the
Yeah.
viewers know. First volume right
Yeah,
here.
that's it.
First volume right here. Hit my man
That's
up.
it.
Bounce Comic on IG right there.
That's it. That's it.
Beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Nah, no
And
problem. No
it's
problem.
like I remember there was one where this dude comes in the bar and he's all drunk and Yemaya doesn't want to let him in, and he tries to shove her out the way, and she comes with
Oh.
a burning knuckle,
Yes, I saw
Terry
that.
Bogard
Yes.
special. So that's like every time I do things like that is to talk about like if you live in New York and you grew up around that time, people would know about that.
The burning knuckle.
Yeah, people know about anything, Hadouken, Shoryuken, like any of that stuff, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, I can actually add this into a story and not feel like I'm super old, but at the same time, people will get this reference. So I
Because
used to do,
the Street Fighter reference and the fact
yeah.
that the Hadouken is
Mhm.
quite possibly the most used word across generational timelines.
Absolutely.
Like now that Street Fighter 5 is online and all they're doing is just adding new characters and the old school people references with Street Fighter, like I get, you know what? Funny you say that because I think that's what gravitates me more to your work is the fact that it doesn't like they can like it's like Street Fighter, it's like Kill Bill
Hmm.
slightly.
Yeah. Okay.
No, like all jokes aside, it's like Kill Bill because it's like you consciously it's like it's like this should be a Netflix series. Like dead ass. Like all jokes aside, this should be a Netflix series. Probably not going to use Terry Crews because I mentioned that before. Now I
Yeah,
think his car got revoked a little bit.
yeah,
I have to
it
find
did.
somebody else at this point. But this is a Netflix, and I'm speaking it into existence. This is something Netflix needs to pick up, either live action or
Mm.
I'm a find a way to shoot it. I'm a shoot the damn shit. But this is something that definitely needs to be seen because the bouncers are cool. Like I can see a dark environment,
Mhm.
but it's still lit. The Yemaya and Dragon Black are like having a conversation,
Mhm.
and then the the door opens, the bell rings because the door is open, and then next
Mhm.
thing you know, the customers come in, and you
Right.
both are working the sides, and it's kind of like you got these. The irate customers, the ones who are designed to cause trouble, are the ones are like these are your bosses that you fight
Yeah.
per evening, like a level, and it's like, oh, okay, like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like that where every night you're fighting a new boss, and then
Mhm.
every now and then you might get that one group of people that are like, I'm gonna start some shit, so I'm gonna carry it on for like a whole season.
See, and this actually goes back to what I said before. Like when you see somebody in their eyes and everything is bare right
Mm.
there, and you see like what they,
The sixth sense of the
you
bouncer.
get it. But then you also see the kind of person that no matter what you do, no matter what you say, it's going to end in a fight. It doesn't matter.
So
No matter what semblance of logic, no matter what kind of realization you may try to make them see, they there's a thing that happens is you didn't come here to have a good time. You came here to cause chaos. And that's when you become the person that has to do what they have to do to defend the establishment. And yeah,
no, that's
that's
the sixth sense of the bouncer.
mhm,
How is it that you're able to channel that energy? Like in an episode of Naruto,
mhm,
there was a saying that says that because two people are warriors, they so two people who are like both opposite energies when they're
mhm,
fighting, it's like they're having a conversation with each other,
mhm,
and it's like I almost feel like when you're working. I guess the comic book, graphic novel says it best, but it's
mhm,
kind of like it's almost as though and from what you're saying, like as soon as they walk in, you feel it in their spirit that they're not here to have a good time. They are
mhm.
literally here to be the next character in Street Fighter.
Yeah. Well,
How, how do you know?
it's it's not, you just don't like the one skill that you usually get that I know I've gotten is being able to size up a person within the first 5 seconds of seeing them.
Really?
The way that they talk, the way that they carry themselves, everything is kind of like profiling in a way, but at the
Okay.
same time, it's kind of like you can, like, if a dude comes to the door and you ask him to show ID, and the first thing he wants to do is crack a joke and act stupid. That's a tell. It's like you're all right. You're trying to be funny. You're trying to be Ryan Reynolds right now, and you're not. But all right, that's cool. And sometimes some of them could be funny. Sometimes they could be like whatever, and that's one. Other times it's like you get the attitude. You get the like you ask for ID, and then next thing you know, it's like and you get the and you're like okay. And then you have the one time this has ever happened, which was a rare instance
Hmm.
where this dude came to the door, looked at me in my face, and said, "I don't have any ID." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry,
I
sir. You
read
can't
about
come in."
that. I read
Yeah,
about that.
and he was like, "Well, there's gonna be a problem. I'm coming in." And I was like, "Well, shit. I guess we're going to have a fight right now." Like, and you could just see it. there was no aspect of explanation. There was nothing that I could tell this person.
It was a fist of
That's
the North Star moment.
yeah. It's just okay. We're fighting this, and one of the things that I've always said about, especially being a bouncer, is you know anything can happen to you. You're the front. You're the front line. You're the person at the door, and that's the other thing too, is that you're not just the enforcer. You're also the person that welcomes people in to make them feel safe that they're going to have a good time.
The host and the enforcer.
Yes. So you have to be able to find like a balance between the two.
The yin and the yang.
Yep. And so that was the way that I always carried it. And then there were some times where, I mean, there were some bars I worked at by myself, alone, and people would act up, and I'd have the whole bar of regulars that usually come in that know me. That's just like, yo, we got a problem, and they would come through like 10 deep and be like, yo, what's good? Like, well, why he giving you a problem? And you get that because you gain an aspect of loyalty to people that come through frequently that just like to feel that they feel safe there with you and they want to help.
Amen to that.
And
Amen.
the thing is with that, it becomes a liability. So I'm like, y'all just hang out in the back. I got this,
Fighting skills. Because all right, now you mentioned that you went to art school briefly, and I feel like you've been a bouncer for how long? I just don't even
about I'd say off and on between in the earlier years between 99 off and on to about 2003, and then full time from 2003 up until maybe 4 years ago.
Damn. So you really are like a sage of bouncers.
Well, it's funny. The one thing I didn't mention as far as my history of the arts is I used to also work in animation. I worked in, for a lot of different animation studios. I worked at Nickelodeon. I worked in Dragonblack Studios. I worked for a whole bunch of different people. So that's where a lot of the knowledge for me to do all this stuff came from too. Okay. But the one thing I used to moonlight as a bouncer back when I first started, because I started working in animation in '99, and I used to work at the studio during the day
and fight crime at night.
That's what you want to call it. Yeah,
I mean, no, but that's so cool because animator bouncer, like two separate entities. Like you was in the streets, like not really in the streets, but you was like in the streets,
right?
But then you wake up in the morning like, all right, I gotta draw an animated clip. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. So I'm sitting there like, bro, like two different spectrums of the universe, and you made it into a fitting niche that is well respected and honored. Hey, honey.
I appreciate that because honestly, it doesn't feel that way.
No.
I don't recommend that. I don't recommend anybody do what I did.
But it's crazy because it's like God, rest in peace for my man Alex. It was like you was the host of Jeopardy, but you fought crime at night.
You know what?
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it now. I'm like, damn, you was like how many animators in the universe could be like, yo, I'm an animator, but I'll whoop your ass if you fucking bust me out the bar. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh man,
yo, I really do hope Nickelodeon, all these studios looking at it, because you looking at a dude who.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. The practices of being a bouncer helped me navigate a lot better during the day when dealing with people, especially dealing with a whole bunch of self-entitled white boys in the studio and in the office, sitting there acting all smug. I'm like, y'all got time for this shit? I don't.
It's funny you should say that because I wanted to talk about the one thing that every bouncer usually has, or at least for you in this case, and what I noticed in the comic is the mastery of patience. And what was it like when you created your first well orchestrated novel? graphic novel.
Oh man.
Like what? Like if you could explain to the viewers the trials and tribulations of the first graphic novel, because I'm telling you guys right now, like for those, when you buy your volumes 1, 2, and 3 at bounce.com, if I'm saying the website right, just
But yeah,
plug in there.
it's actually I'm selling them on Gumroad. So
All right, Gumroad, like listen, you need to buy this because this shit right here is hot. Like
thank
one of
you.
the things I definitely need to understand is that you have the language down pat,
Mm.
the artwork down pat, and thank you for signing it, by the way. Thank you for signing
Oh.
it. Saying blessings. Like one of the things was the patience. Like when what was it like? What was it like when creating the first volume?
Mm.
And what was it like after the first volume was created?
Oh man. Well, the thing is, I had already did probably about 80 comic strips before I even considered putting it into print. So
Okay.
I was just knocking them out. I had no plan. I really didn't. It it
Wow.
it felt like it felt like I finally came into my own and created something that I really loved and actually respected that came from me. I was like, oh, I like this. And so I didn't see anything crazy from it. I didn't see like, making money or, selling things. And now it's different, but it was more like I did it because I loved every minute of it.
Okay.
And then I put it out in that book format, and I went to a con. I think it was Black Comics Fest.
Okay.
Was the first time that I actually had a full printed copy
Afro,
for sale.
was it at the Schaumburg?
It was in Schaumburg, yeah.
That's what
I think that's what you got.
yo,
Yeah.
this
Well,
right
actually,
here.
if you got both of those, I think that was after. But I think it was the first because this was like I think the 2015 Schaumburg because usually Schaumburg is in January.
Yes, yes.
And I think what I did was I in December I went and did my last Bounce Comics. I had finished that last little thing in volume 1 where the bouncer breaks up with Sunflower and all this stuff
Yeah,
happens,
I remember that.
and then the bouncer he goes from being all Super Debo into back to his big belly self, and then so
I have a question.
uh
Was the sunflower piece based off of Erica Badu?
no,
Okay,
not really.
because I felt like sunflower had this. I ain't gonna lie.
Mm.
Black women have a tendency. I'm not gonna lie. Black women, beautiful. I'm telling you, I think the world was catered to women.
Mhm.
But a black woman, I'm telling you, they can make you feel like He-Man 1 minute, and if you mess up, they can make you feel like Adam the next.
I mean, I got a different philosophy on that, and I got a different take on it.
And
But
I would love to hear. Wait, tell us the philosophy. What's the
well, the
philosophy?
thing is, I feel that us as black men, we need to start coming into our own.
This is
There's a
true.
lot of black women that deal with some shit that internalize our own trauma
Okay,
growing up, and you can't expect how somebody's going to internalize any kind of trauma coming from their partner, especially somebody that that they love. So
exactly.
I personally think that um, this especially this day and age, especially after this year, especially
Everything that's going on.
everything that's going on. I mean, black men got to really step up and start changing
Amen
the
to that.
ways that we have been seeing and doing things for so long. Like a lot. I know a lot of brothers that get uh, offended whenever they hear any woman say, men are trash, and I'm like, well, are you though?
Exactly.
Getting
Like,
mad though, but
do
are
you
you?
fit the
Like,
do you fit the description?
yeah,
Are you part of the trash, or
yeah,
are you part of the Louis Vuitton luggage that, like, hey, you're handling your business, you're doing what you need to do?
right. Well, and it's interesting because the sunflower story is basically an aspect of people coming into their own. Just because someone you like someone or you say you love someone doesn't mean that that person is for you. Just because that person isn't for you doesn't mean that they're a horrible person.
No, you're right.
So that's the
See,
thing.
wisdom of the sage.
This and it was just like towards the end of that whole chapter where the bouncer realized that he changed a lot of himself to fit what he thought that this person would like. But then at the end, it didn't really matter because who he is what should matter. Like who he is and what he represents to himself is what
Himself.
should be, yeah, it should be the way that he lives.
You know, it's
And for
funny you
him to
say that.
change all these things and do all this stuff, it wasn't him.
You know what? It's funny you say that because I started like real talk, yo. Like I've been married for 10 years. I have
Mhm.
two beautiful children. You just saw one like come in and say, "I love you, Daddy," and two
Yes.
beautiful girls, and I love them. And I started thinking to myself, like, I started thinking about marriage and the concept. Like now that Black
Mhm.
Love and these great shows are coming on on Owen and everything and all urban movie channel. And I
Mhm.
say to myself, like, are men and women being themselves when they get married, or are they fitting the mold of marriage based off of what they see and hear in their own marriage?
Well, I think that's a very wow. That's a I may have to pour myself another drink for that. That's
No, no,
crazy.
please, because I did it for myself. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Wait. Give me a. Can you give me a second?
Yeah, oh, no problem. I got you. I got you. Bring the bottle by you. This might be a minute. This might be one for the ages.